all the tribe. So I've had many conversations of communicative information to bring forth. And it's like so many layers of data and information. And right before I even pushed the record button, I literally started hearing that song. I think it's Dave Matthews, where he says, so much to say, so much to say. There's so much to be communicated that I don't even know the starting point. So I find that when I utilize my own experiences in life, I am often connected to all other beings. Mine might be a minute, tiny aspect of an experience, or it might be far grander of a scale. We're all on different timelines of consciousness, and so some of us are having this grandiose experience, and other people are having like little stumbling blocks, right? Depending on what levels of awakening we are in. And this last week has been highly chaotic in a beautiful, wow, the word revolutionary? Yeah. Beautiful revolutionary way. So I guess I'll start with a few days ago, I had sat to do a reading. And as I went to go and do a reading, I realized that I wasn't meant to actually record it. Well, not to share it. And so I started, to be in this moment. And as that started to unfold, I realized that the vibration coming out of my body was so high that I couldn't even connect with my own self on camera. And I just started spinning and spinning and spinning. And so I decided to not look at the camera and just shuffle. And as I did this, I had a complete unfolding. The cards started to express themselves and communicate to me. And what I decided to do was record without recording me, and realized that in this moment it had nothing to do with offering it to the collective as information for them. It was a very deep part of my own storyline. And this event took place for 4 hours. So I had anticipated bed, and that didn't happen. And so I was up until well beyond 4 a.m. Yeah, it was like a whirlwind of 6 hours. It was crazy. So a couple of hours of recording and a couple of hours or a few more hours of downloads and movement through. And by the time I went to bed, I literally was begging Spirit to let me sleep, asking them just to simply shut down my system because I knew I had to work in the morning. So I went through this huge data of downloads, and then went into very little sleep to the following day. We're again exhausted, and then completely childlike. I was so exhausted. So all I wanted to do was eat. And because I had to work, and so trying to sustain my energy while at work, I could tell my body really just went into this like childlike state of needing that the food, the substance, most likely to dull some of the stuff I was experiencing. I was so overtired and so over emotional. However, really overjoyed by having had the experience, but not able to fully process it because it took over my whole being. That's just how it works. You know, those of us, some people in their enlightenment, they experience it different than others, you know, and I know I can go through major downloads, and I mean, I have no control over it. And if I was to control it, it would be like a self-sabotage, you know. To actually control the experience, I would lose that level of gift being given to me in the awakening. And so I allow myself to ride that wave, and sometimes it turns out really, really awesome and beautiful on the other end, where it just kind of like blends into the world, and other times it kicks your ass like it did this week. And you know, it's so funny. I had a series of events in this last week, and I think it's so ironic. As I was trying to settle into what was the best communicative way of expressing things to the collective, I said, I'll pick a few cards and see if that guides me, right? So the cards I picked was really interesting. One of them happened to be the exact card that set everything forward in my personal download, which, let me tell you, that was intense. Very, very intense. And so looking at these cards, it's magnificent to understand that stepping into this knowing, just simply knowing and accepting that it is okay. It is okay. The energy is so high right now. The majority of people that I've been engaging with are elevating, and they're elevating at such an exponential rate that it's like we've been waiting on this moment. You know I have. My journey, like a lot of people's journeys, I mean, everyone chose a path for a specific reason. And mine was, we say chosen. Did I consciously choose it in this lifetime? I consciously chose to listen to the guidance to which it was given to me, even though I didn't like it. There were moments and times on my journey where I said, I'm going to move forward. I'm going to figure this out. This isn't who I am. This experience is not who I am. I'm just having this experience, and I don't understand why I'm fighting it or why I can't move through it. And the more I would try to push to move through it, the more the universe would force me to sit back and say, no, you gotta stew in it. You gotta stew in it. You gotta sit in it. We're not gonna let you move forward right now. It's not the time. And, let me tell you. And the more outside sources kept trying to tell me that I had to show up in a specific way, that brought a shame or a guilt to my journey that I had to work through. And as I did, the universe again would say to me, not now, not now. You're not allowed to move forward yet. And then all of a sudden one day, the universe literally was like, now you can move forward. Now you can do all these things. And as I started to move that energy forward in a specific direction, all of this data came in from sources that I never, ever ever would have expected it to come from. And information that literally was so mind-blowing, of like truth, of intentions of others that I would have been blind to had I shown up as I always had. You know what I mean? The extreme multitasker, like get shit done, you know? Had I shown up in that way, my ego would have overridden this deep knowledge that came to the surface in the experience. And so by no means am I overjoyed that I, yay, I had this experience. No, it was a shitty experience. However, the gift of truth and understanding and insight. Oh my God, the gift of insight that came from having the experience, because the universe literally was like, there was no denying it. There was no way I could, it was just so in my face that I couldn't hide from it, or I couldn't allow myself to bypass over the reality that never, ever, 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 ever would I have thought to be true. And so I offer this to you because sometimes we place ourselves in situations so that the unfolding of truth and a depth of understanding can come to the surface, no matter how messy it appears, and no matter how outside of our character it is. I will constantly say, we're just method actors, right? We're just forcing ourselves into experiences so that we can gain access to what it is we needed to know for our journeys and our paths, right? Yeah, blessing and a curse in all things, right? I often feel like my wheels have been spinning in mud, at least in the last few years, the last so many years, I felt like, yeah, I was just kind of spinning out and I couldn't get forward. And now, finally, there's no more spinning in mud and the wheels are actually moving forward. But it took all of this information to come to the surface. And even this last week, so literally I had that amazing download, I believe it was Monday night, yet even Monday before that download took place, I had an experience where it was like the last and final bit of information, like, holy shit, like, I'm hearing the bountifulness of people's corruption, right? How rotted their roots are. And sadly, they're so disconnected from it. I believe that is one of the most painful experiences ever, to witness the corruption of a loved one or beings that we know are not that, and to experience and witness it and fully accept it for what it is, and know that there's nothing you can do beyond being you and loving them, right? To love another human being so unconditionally that you allow yourself to feel the depths of pain. That's love. That's love. To run away from the pain is... that's fear. Right? Authentic love has such this depth to it. Yeah. And unfortunately, the majority of humans have the wrong definition of love. So much. And it's funny that I have lived a certain level of how the love is meant to show up. However, the childlike verbiage that will go through my brain in certain moments has made me realize where there's a false, false sense of security, or false, that illusionary world, the Disney world, right? The Disney world, that doesn't exist even a little bit. That's a game, it's this, wouldn't it be nice, right? But would it? That's the other question. Would the Disney world life actually be that great? That's not me. Not me. I guess some people would say that yes, it would be lovely. It would be lovely. I'm the type that would want to punch Mickey in the face. Just saying, he'd get annoying after a while. Yeah, I would much rather. I just heard Shrek. I'm a big fan of Shrek, but not even. What is love? What is love? God, my heart hurts believing how many people try to create a falsity around it. And as I mentioned, even I have had, verbiage that has come through my mind and my being that clearly has been seeded into me, but is not mine. Because it's not how I've lived. It's just not how I've lived. But I know we play those games out. I know we do. So, in this last week alone, witnessing people and their behavior, the transitions. There are those that have elevated at such a level. I am so eternally grateful. So eternally grateful. The level to which the evolution has taken place, allowing for the, do I dare say genders, right? But it's vibrationally, don't over-identify with the physical, even though that's a thing in itself, but the vibrational genders to balance, right? That masculine strength and their kindness and their willingness, right? To love in an unattached way and hold space. And then the feminine and their nurture and playfulness. Oh, and their passion to create. Such this amazing passion to create. This is elevating and expanding. And what we're seeing right now is this death and shedding of the old paradigm, which, we've been talking about it for so long, but it's truly, truly coming into a fruition at this time of it's just done. It's just done. So you can't carry it with us, right? And I think the difficulty is that there are those who are still paying karmic retribution. Let's go with that. There are those who are paying karmic retribution, and our timelines are different. And how does that work? Well, You could be standing in front of somebody having a conversation with them, and their soul is not on the same timeline as you. How can you identify this? Well, sometimes it's merely through the vibration. Sometimes it is, you can realize that in the conversation there's a non-relating going on, that they can't understand fully the conversation that's taking place, even though they want to, but they can't fully at this time absorb all that you say from this higher consciousness, because they have layers to work through in order to achieve that. They're just on a different timeline of consciousness. And is there an aspect of them that is on your timeline? Yes, I believe so. I think that's a good way of saying it. There's an aspect of all of us on all timelines. Personally, I believe it is up to us to collapse those timelines in order to bring our soul into a union, a self-union in harmony, in order to collapse those timelines so that we can fully embrace the wholeness of one. Which I know this literally in my Monday recording, I literally said that. My words of my experience in the reading or the download I was having was that I felt like I was collapsing timelines. And so it was super powerful, but I do believe that's where we are as a collective. Now, I know for myself that in order to have opened that portal and gate, I had to have experiences, and I've had multitudes of experiences in the last couple of weeks, and we'll go with frenemies and like exes. And so beings who have shown up that have tried to test or tempt or redirect or sway me emotionally, or just see if I drink the poison. And if you know me well enough, you know that I will tell people that I'll take a sip of the poison. I will. Sometimes I don't, nope, not at all. And a lot of times I will drink from the cup to which people have offered me, because I want to know what they're offering. Right? I would like to know with the fullest of integrity, because we all have trauma. We all come from some level of trauma, right? And I want to know, can I trust this person, or where are they at on their journey, And so I do that as an offering to them. Hoping to love them even more, see where they're at on their timelines, right? And accept the fact that they might not be on mine. So very tumultuous moments throughout this last couple of days of witnessing as the poison that has been offered to me. And sorry, I'm laughing because my response as things are unfolding is quite hysterical. One, to me it is. Two, in the sense of my soul, the original aspect of my soul would never, ever, ever, ever respond the way that I do now. Yet the way I respond now, I think, is quite hysterical, in the fact of, the Boston comes out in me, I would much rather be this kind and gentle, loving being, but sometimes when you have to lay down boundaries, you best believe the city kid comes out. And so witnessing self, literally being in a moment of telepathic communication and witnessing self experiencing the experience, so as these cups of poison, and they were poison, were offered to me, they believed they were offering me love, and that was hysterical and sad all at the same time. So, taking a sip and understanding what it is they're offering, and realizing that they were still in a dimensional reality that was very sick. It was a very sick dimensional reality. And unfortunately, they believed that they were, justified in their communications behavior, their blah, 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 whatever you want to call it. So how do we handle those moments? Because we're all dealing with it. If you're dealing with human beings who are not on your timeline and not showing up from places of love or serving you cups of poison, then one must come back to themselves. You must sit in your own self and sort it. You know what I mean? Acknowledge the fact that that which they're offering you is not love, is not healthy. It is a tainted version of love, right? It is a poison that they're trying to offer you. I often find that it's just a test. It's just a test to see who you are as a person. For me, I passed right through of like, oh, that's just bullshit. I'm good. I don't know what you're offering me, but that's not who I am. So I'm very grateful. And then you move through. And again, like I said, this was a exhausting week. So having been, tested and channeling and layers and layers and layers and layers. So coming out the other side with clarity. And then watching as it's integrated. So I had a conversation with a client earlier today that their story and my story were quite parallel from very different perspectives. And so I say this because, I'll just be blunt. This person is one of the most loving beings. I absolutely adore them. I love them. I'm so grateful that they have found me as a practitioner to support them on their journey, and they gift me with their energy, allowing me to work on them, and they allow me to love them, being the vibrational being that they are, and the high not even just high intensity, but there's a word for it. So the level of wealth that they live within is so high that we're far beyond. I don't even like to put a number on it, but like, I almost want to say millions or chump change. You know what I mean? Like, that's the level I'm dealing with this person, that they're very high. And so they're explaining to me an experience they're having within their reality. And their experience in their reality matched the experience of my reality from two completely different playing fields, right? So they're doing it right, with this, like, putting numbers on the end of it. And as I explained that we're matched in these stories of how to look at it from a simpler place, and they always want to keep love in their heart, which is amazing, to be where they are and just always want to be that loving being for other people is amazing. And it's rare, in my opinion, to find. I'm hoping that it's not so rare. And they just were hysterical of like, as we discussed the dynamic and witnessing that their story and my story were just right there. And the beauty in the communication. The bottom line was integrity. Integrity to love, integrity to truth, integrity to oneself, and that which we know is of truth, right? Not wanting. Neither one of us wanted to look at these beings messing with us from a low vibration, and we don't want to. I don't wish to look at them as less than, or that they did so to harm me in any way. They did it for their own reasonings. Their rooted intention had less than pure intentions to it. There are some pure intentions, but there was still roots in others. And so holding that space of healing for them, as well as making them accountable. And that's the line, right? Accountability. Holding the integrity within yourself so that all others line up with the accountability to which they stand. It's not always easy. It takes practice. It takes practice. And I know for myself, as I mentioned, that I must experience it from a fully emotional place. It moves through my full being in order for me to siphon through and discover where that is, right? So sometimes it can go on a loop. Sometimes I can experience a loop. More and more though, it's looking at it being like, oh, I've already drank that shit. Yeah, I'm good. I don't need to drink that shit. I don't need to drink that shit. So you experience the experience however it comes up. And then other times, the universe just takes over your whole entire fucking body, mind, and spirit and forces you into an experience. And gosh, a friend of mine posted this image the other day. It was so good. It was so good. Oh my God, I love him for it. It was so good. I was gonna pee myself laughing. It was an image of a puppy being dragged on a leash, and that was the day after my experience. And I was like, that's me today. I was like, the only way I'm making it through this effing day is if somebody fucking drags me. Nothing exactly what I felt like. It was so good. Thank you so much. Oh, and I didn't, oh my goodness, it was so good. So as we sometimes get dragged through, right, as we're being pulled along, be grateful for those moments too. If you hold on to, if we hold on to an emotion or an experience as the end-all be-all, then you will get stuck there. I know for myself along my journey, this is one of the greatest lessons I've learned, is that I used to do that. I used to think that the emotion I was experiencing or the information I was being given was the final information. And I would hold on to it, and sometimes it would be held on to a really, really long time, and then eventually that foundation that I had been standing on of what I thought was truth was taken away from me, until then more truth, reality, and more truth would come through. And so now I stand in this like, none of it's true. None of it's true. And just because that's the experience of the creation right now doesn't mean that's the experience of the creation down the road, and it doesn't mean it's the experience of the creation even further along. Especially witnessing the level of timelines that we have going on right now. I mean, it's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. So to limit our perception that, all can't be rectified, all can't come back into harmony, or this is just this moment. It's just this moment in time. All timelines are running and they're getting reconfigured. And the more vibration we hold at this elevated place, the more that these other timelines will heal. And so if you are wrapped up in witnessing of other people's timelines, be gentle with them. Be gentle with you first, actually. Be kind to them. Feel free to remove yourself. You do not have to participate or drink of the poison. And in fact, I encourage you not to. If you are well trained and understanding of how to siphon through, then do your thing. But if you cannot drink the poison further, then don't do it. for me, it is part of my medicine and healing. It is how I've discovered what the poison versus the love is. And again, people's, gosh. What people believe to be love is such bullshit. It's bullshit. It's unbelievable. And, I posted something earlier today, and it was something like, those that can hear you within the silence are the ones who care the most, or those that love you the most, that they can hear and feel you when you're in your silent places. And it was within seconds of posting that, a very dear friend commented, and she wrote, "That's you." And I took it as one of the highest compliments, because I do feel that way. To be able to experience the emotions of others and hold space for them, that they come back to a place of pure love. That's what I pray to offer all beings. Offer myself too, right? So, as we move forward, the cards that were gifted to us tonight, I don't even really feel need to be shown. It was more of a directive and a guidance for me to acknowledge, being the light bearer and honoring those in the journey who have shown up. I believe that we as women have, forgive me, we have really towed the line. We have, and not saying it was perfect or balanced by any stretch of the mean. And I know that a lot of women were very highly emotional at witnessing is how a lot of masculines were not showing up for the journey. And I think that that's where our imbalance came from. Instead of just simply holding space and knowing that they would show up, I think a lot of beings became resentful and tired. I had my moments. Oh, I definitely had my moments. I think for me, the moments would appear when I held the space and they had wished harm or attempted sabotage of all that we were doing. And so that's where I dipped. I definitely did. It happens. Always held space for them to arrive, and they have. They have. And so allow for the organicness to transpire on the journey. Allow for the harmony to start to find itself. And if you play in the reality that once was, where you felt there was less than, then check in. You might not be on the right timeline, right? You might be tapping into an energy that is trying to hold you back from being on the timeline you are. Because I'll tell you right now, your loved ones who are not on your timeline will try and stop you from living and evolving on the timeline you are on. They don't want you to move beyond them. They don't. I mean, you're amazing. Why would they want you to move beyond them, right? Like, you're that amazing glowing light. Of course they don't want you to move beyond them. They're going to miss you. Let them miss you. Let them miss you. It's important. They need to grow too. But don't stop shining your light. Don't stop being a loving being towards their energy field, whether you're in their presence or away from them. It's not about having anger or resentment towards them. It's about just being the light, right? So, yeah. Whew. So if you've had a week like me, which you may have, or you might be leading into it, know that you're not alone. And they're just waves. And let them move through you. And don't believe everything you hear and see. All right? It's just a passing wave. They're options, they're potentials, they're set forth to trigger you, so you do the internal work and you purge and you gain clarity over who you really are and what it is you really want in life, right? Sometimes that's all it is. Sometimes those waves of emotion just are there to test you, for you to be able to go, yes, this is who I am. No, that's not who I am. Who the fuck was that? And why would they think that way? Who, what? No. Who is that? And does that person still exist? What timeline are they on? It's an experience. And it is that complex. It is. So be kind. Be kind to yourselves. I love you.